Hi guys, today we're going to talk about maximizing call bookings using content and FlowChat. There's a lot of different strategies that you can use and play. So, if you're watching this live with us, great. Thanks for being here. If you're watching this on a replay or catching it on our YouTube, make sure and subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome just to have you on the channel. But today we're going to talk about how to maximize call bookings using content and FlowChat. And I wanted to start with like change. This word change is really interesting. I happened to have a conversation pretty recently with one of our members. And as I was going through the conversation, I had this epiphany of, oh, the strategy that was in place wasn't actually serving that person. And so we ended up, instead of going deep down, it was actually going to be a copy review for the pipeline. And we were going to dig into the copy and change some stuff up with the existing strategy. And every now and again, we have to step out of where we're at and kind of zoom out just a little bit and look at the overall strategy, because sometimes the overall strategy that we've been deploying may not be getting the results that we wanted to get. In this particular conversation, as I realized as we're getting into the strategy, I stopped and I said, hold on a second, like, who are you targeting? Where are they at? And we kind of walked through all the beginning questions when you first get started with FlowChat. And what I realized is the strategy that this person was deploying was actually not the right strategy for the setup that they had and the messaging and the business systems that they were trying to operate on. And so I said, before we go into messaging, what I want to do is I want to give you kind of a snapshot of a couple of different strategies. And one of those strategies was running paid ad campaigns. Another one was paid content marketing. Another one was attraction marketing. And we ended up settling on kind of this attraction marketing / paid advertising strategy. And that was far different than just a cold outreach strategy. And so I share this with you because I had this epiphany of like, oh man, sometimes it's very valuable. And I would say monthly or every other month or even once a quarter to just kind of double check that the strategy that you're deploying matches the business situation and setup that you have. And so why do we do something like this? Like, why, first of all, it was message empowerment. Like, if you have the right message to get out to people and other people need to hear that message, see that message, get involved with you so they can make changes in their world, having the right strategy match your business is critical. Secondly, connecting content and growth. If you're looking at using attraction marketing and FlowChat, this is a way to cut the stopgap out, and where you have like your content is going out, but how does it connect to call bookings? How does it connect to getting sales and everything else like this? So this strategy that I'm going to talk about today kind of covers that as well. And then of course, creating a system that's all encompassing around content plus growth plus everything else that you're doing. And it allows you to get unstuck. And case in point, when I was having this conversation with this gentleman, he told me, he's like, oh my gosh, this totally makes sense. And I asked him, do you like it or do you love it? He said, I love it. And then I said, great. And he goes, actually, something else has happened. And I was like, what's that? And he said, during this conversation, it's reinvigorated me. I'm revived, I'm refreshed. And now I have new energy to execute. And that's always the thing that we want to always instill is how do you continue to keep that energy high and people loving the strategy? And all it comes down to making sure that you have right message, right people, right result, right system, right message, right people, right result, right? So the goals for today are very simple. Number one, we want you to take this strategy. If you're using it, fantastic. If you're not using it, this is something for you to look at and potentially use. Now, whether you use FlowChat or you're not, this is something that you can do without FlowChat. Of course, I'm going to share how FlowChat can make it way faster and better. But secondly, build the assets. Okay. So whenever you start a new strategy, there's always a little bit of building that's got to be done. Third, you got to run the flow. And lastly, you just got to know your numbers. So we just kind of hit on that a second ago, but we'll go through it again. So what is it? Well, what is attraction marketing? Attraction marketing in one sentence is very simple. Creating content that draws people towards you. That's it. Right. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can do attraction marketing, which I'll get into here in a second to just share some of those things. But if you're trying to be a true thought leader in your world, in your industry, attraction marketing is very valuable. If you have a big audience, this makes it a lot easier. But the nice thing that FlowChat allows you to just go faster with is if you don't have a big audience, you can still use our tech in order to find other thought leaders in your industry and do the same strategy. So keep that in mind as we're going through this. Here's the 4-part strategy. It's very simple. I like to keep it simple. First of all, you got to create some content. I'm going to cover that in detail in a second. Once you have the content created, we're just going to use the tech to import likes, leads, or from the DMs. Next, Once we have the people imported into a flow, we just qualify, connect, and then book calls if that's what we're trying to do as our objective. And then lastly, close and fulfill those deals. So as we start going through this, let's start with part one, is creating content. What's the most important thing that we can do here, right? Well, here's the different types of assets or content that you can use or think about trying to build. First of all, there's two-step posts. This is a very simple hand raiser post that you'd be putting in somewhere like a Facebook group or in another place that's very public. People can see that, and you're asking kind of a general question. And the intent of that is to draw somebody out that might be interested in the particular topic that you're asking a question about. Secondly, would be like thought leadership. This is where, like Chris talked about it earlier today in our leadership meeting, he made a great post on Twitter talking about how Elon Musk just laid off the most recent 80% of all the other employees in the company. And is Elon crazy, or was it a genius idea, or a little bit of both, or what's your thoughts, right? Like, and then you can start to generate conversation around that topic. Again, it's something that's relevant and trending. So when you're doing thought leadership posts, look in the news. If you have some sort of a news, source, it's always good to just say, oh, like, I'm going to bark about that on social and see what kind of opportunity it can drum up for me. That's a great way to kind of go down the thought leadership path. Another one would be short demos. If you have a tech or a system or something that you can actually demo, or if you have a specific way that you teach or share, it's very good to give little snippets of what's inside. What's the magic? What's your superpower? You can talk about that. And of course, last is paid ads, which I'll go through. So first of all, here's an example of a two-step post. And we covered this a little while ago, but I'll cover it again. Is one of the agendas for FlowChat is to find white label reseller. We're actually looking for 100 people that can become white label resellers for us. And it's just a big goal that we're going after. HubSpot happens to have a community of all of these people that have already white labeled something that's far more expensive than what FlowChat is. And they already have gone through the process. That means they probably already have the team. They already are just right in that right niche of the exact people that we were actually looking for. And so what I did is I went into that group, I joined the group, and I just posted this is a hand raiser two-step post. I'm gonna say, who here part of the white label reseller program for HubSpot? As a prospect or a potential client, I'm looking at this question saying, I don't know what this person's intent is. I'm going to go say, well, yes, I am. Maybe they have some questions about becoming that person, and I want to help other people. So that prospect is going to come your direction. That's a great little piece of bait that you can throw out into the stream where people are going to hook on and move in your direction, right? Secondly is thought leadership. Now, if y'all don't know who Brendan Burchard is, he's one of the biggest thought leaders in the world when it comes to high performance coaching. In fact, he has a email list of over 2 million people that are trying to get better at high performance. Here is a thought leadership post that I thought was valuable. He did this on Twitter. He said, some people say you should stay dissatisfied, their attention is good, but, and then he went on and he did thread after thread after thread the same day. And what's interesting about that is now each one of these things has people that have either liked this or shared this or even responded to this. And so from one thought leadership post, you can basically like daisy chain on all of these other posts, and then people might just catch one of those things and then go back and reread it, and now they're in the conversation. So very interesting strategy that he uses here, and he gets a lot of engagement on all of his posts. Next one would be a short demo, right? So one of our other, one of my close friends, his name is Anthony. He loves FlowChat beyond anything. He's a big promoter of it. And he put together this 11-minute, 46-second video on his profile talking about how to generate a steady flow of leads for your business. Let me know how easy it is when you have FlowChat. And then people you can see are commenting and of course, liking those posts. And next thing you know, he has a stream of people that are interested in the demo, maybe interested in him, and we can start a conversation. So this is a way to create some content around something that he's trying to get people actively involved in this case happens to be FlowChat. Lastly is paid ads. Again, I'm pulled up another Brendan Burchard ad. You can see this is where you actually make a piece of content, you put it on a page. There's two types of paid content that you can make. One of them is public facing, which would be posted on your page. And the other one is called a dark post. This is where you actually build the content behind the scenes and it's stored in the ads campaign manager of a place like Facebook as an example, and nobody publicly sees that post. What's interesting about dark posts versus not dark posts is if you have it public facing, all of the content, the comments, the likes, and the shares will be there and it will grow faster than if it's just a dark post. And then from there, you can use our tech to collect all of the people that have gone down the path. So a lot of different examples that you have there for the type of content that you can create. And again, attraction marketing, talking about something that's going to draw people in your direction. This starts to create what people say is the inbound flow. Because let's be real, everything is outbound. Even, like people are like, I only do inbound traffic. Well, at some point before they do inbound traffic, they did something that went outbound, meaning they created some content or they did something that got those people to start swimming in their direction. So here is the content call to actions I think are valuable to talk about. So first of all, when you're running this play, attraction marketing using FlowChat, two of the best things you can do. Number one, you say, hey, comment below, right? And then people will come in and they'll comment something below, right? That's an easy call to action that you can put into the world, and people will do the thing that you ask if your content is juicy enough. Another one is if you want to be a little bit more exclusive and behind the scenes or private, you can just drop your content, and at the end, the call to action is, oh, by the way, DM me with the word vision, or DM me with this word, or whatever that case may be. And then that person's going to go ahead and hit the DM button and send you that word. And now you have a conversation that's been started. And with one click, you can swoop all of those people up and drop them into a system where you can actually start the outreach. So that's on the content creation side. And now we'll move into stage two is, well, what do you do once people have done that? Once you've created the content, Sean, that's great. People have liked it, they've shared it, they've commented on it. How do I do it from here? Well, very simply, you would just go. Now, I went back to this particular Brendan Burchard ad. This is a paid ad that he did. That's public facing. And by the way, it doesn't have to be your content. If you don't have a big audience, you can use other people's content to do the same thing. That's a beautiful piece about FlowChat that separates us from everybody else in the world. And in this case, you can just click on the button that says likes. In this particular example, there's over 300 people that happen to like this paid ad that Brendan Burchard did. I can click one button, and then I can go ahead and I can import all of those people directly into any pipeline that I want. One click, I hit the start import, and then my system tells me, look, 11 of these 11 that you wanted were processed, 9 are new, 2 already in your database and ignored, meaning we kick out duplicates. And then all 11 of them were added into the new pipeline. So it's really powerful to see just on a click of a button that you could import these people that have been starting to swim in your direction. And of course, you go into the pipeline and they will all land in that imported from prospects posts, okay? So that's how we get them into the pipeline, into the system. And then from here, all we have to do is qualify, connect, and book. Doing the process this way, using this strategy, drastically reduces the amount of pipeline stages or stages of connection that you need to use. Why? Because you've already started to generate rapport. What I mean by this is you make a piece of content, somebody goes and looks at it. They're going to read your writing. Great. They're probably going to go look at your profile. Great. That's 2 steps or 2 touches. And then if they come back and they comment, they like, they share, or even they send you a DM, there's 3 touch points. And all we have to do now is drop the 4th one in the pipeline. It eliminates that colder type of outreach in DMs, and it accelerates the warmer type. Hey, I know that 60% of engagement comes after 4 touch points, so my pipeline can be shorter. So if we're looking at a flow like this, what's interesting is once somebody has been dropped into your pipeline, we've imported that, then all we have to do is qualify that profile. Again, don't ever skip over the qualification process, because if and when you do skip over that process, you're going to have bad in, which equals bad out. We always want to have the good people that come in to get the great result that we're looking to get out. So make sure and qualify. And then that initial message or that initial response to whatever this person has done should be relevant, should be on point, and can move forward. So all we got to do is run the flow. And a pro tip here, when you are running this particular play, one of the things that we found is very powerful is make a stage in your pipeline on the far left that actually houses the posts that you're making. This way, whoever you can systemize this and give to your team and create SOP, you create the content, you publish it out there, you just have to grab the link and put it into a stage, and then your VA or your team or whoever's doing it can then say, oh, okay, my job, number one, is I go to each post that are here in this column and I import all those prospects. And then now you have it all in a list, all in one place. You don't have to worry about giving them like a whole bunch of links for where the content's been posted, and it's right there in the pipeline. And then they can import right from those posts right into the imported prospects and then start running the flow. Here's some message pro tips that I think are important. Number one, keep it very, very simple. As I mentioned, if you do this attraction marketing play with content into a flow and then connect with them to book call or do whatever, you only really need 2 messages to get to action. Okay, and so I think I have some examples here in a second. Secondly, you want to be direct, right? The rapport has already been established, as I mentioned, and you always want to lead with questions, because most people, when they message, they kind of mess it up by saying way too many things. In this case, if somebody particularly messaged you like, hey, DM me vision, and they say vision, then we would go back with a very simple response. In this case, well, let me go. I got that one down in a second. So this one is like a comment. So if you say drop a comment, then now you would import the comments into the pipeline. Your first message would be something like this, would say, thanks for the comment on my post, first name. After reviewing your profile, it seems like a call makes sense. Are you up for a chat this week? Very simple. It's a 1-stage, 1-message, book a call opportunity that we can start from scratch and go very fast, right? Second example here would be qualifying somebody further. So if we wanted to qualify somebody a little bit further, we could say, hey, thanks for the comment on my post, first name. Your profile's on point, meaning they know that we checked their profile. Before we get too deep into things, could I ask a couple of questions about your business, or could I ask a couple of things about your business? This will give you the ability to get engagement. Getting engagement in the DMs is the most important first step that you can put into any flow that you're running. So if you ask a very simple question, we want to guide our prospects using questions down the path of saying yes or getting engagement, right? And then you can come back with them with a second stage, would be like, hey, how long have you been in business? They say this, that, or the next thing. Hey, what's the thing you're focused on? Oh, that totally makes sense. What's the big thing holding you back? There's 3 questions that I just asked. And they say this, oh my God, it makes sense for us to talk. Let's book a call. You've now qualified that person into a place where you can bring them way faster through your process of induction to a closed deal, right? Last one is if they DM you, again, boom, first name. Thanks for DMing, magic keyword vision. Let's chat a bit here in the DMs and book a call if it makes sense. Ready? And again, very simple thing for the prospect to say yes to. Our objective, finding new opportunities, is to make it as easy as possible for the prospects to follow down the yellow brick road, so to speak. So this is one way that if somebody's DMing you, you saw the comment, you saw the like or whatever, you can do it with a DM this way as well. So any which way that works, they all work the same. So a couple pro tips there. And then lastly is just closing the deal. This is where you get on the call, and then you're going to want to follow some sort of a sales process or sales system. If you don't have one, we have one available that you can go through inside of FlowChat that we just provide as a give. Because look, Chris and I can teach anyone to sell in a weekend. If you don't have enough at-bats, you're never going to get good at sales. And so the system before getting into the sales methodology is a really big indicator and key, because if you can take the swings at the plate, you'll get better at closing deals. And then you can start adding structure, adding, science, and then eventually laying art over the top of it. Okay. Last thing I want to cover here is just knowing your numbers. We already kind of talked about this. You got to have some way to track how much is going in, how many are getting through, and then how many are coming out on the other end. This is the only way that you can actually optimize any system on earth. So for example, if you're running paid ads, that's what they do. You give money to platform displays content or ad to people, and then you look at how many people clicked, how many people paid, how many, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing, but this is the FlowChat, I believe, in my opinion, because I haven't seen it anywhere else, is the only system that I've ever come across that actually has organic optimization reporting inside of a tool, right? So now you can take your outreach flow, your strategy, your messaging, and see how effective it is from here's the people going in, this is how they came in, here's how they're getting through the process, and then here's what's coming out at the back end. And you can use those indicators to change or tweak or optimize. We always talk about this thing called Kaizen, continuous improvement. This is the flow of continuous improvement when you're running an organic outreach method using DMs or attraction marketing. And with that said, the keys for today, you now have the strategy. I just went through it for you. Secondly, you can build all the assets that I talked about. They're not hard to build. I showed you some examples. You can run the flow, you or your team. And lastly, when you know your numbers, there's nothing stopping you except for you doing the work and you getting the results. And with that said, let's go FlowChat. That's all I got for you today. So we're going to dive back into some Q&A.